Hello, everybody, and welcome in for Season 2 of Vol Club Confidential. I'm your host, Austin Price. What an exciting time on Rocky Top. Tennessee coming off an 11-2 season just 1 year ago and an Orange Bowl win over Clemson. And, man, they've got a season schedule set up this year where I think Tennessee can win easily double-digit games again. Again, there'll be some big games in September, then October, and then a couple of huge ones in November. Let's bring in Spire CEO James Clausen. James, the Vol Club has had remarkable growth in the offseason. A lot of exciting things to talk about heading into this 2023 campaign. What are you most excited about?
Well, I'm excited to be back for Season 2. Great to have you back, Austin.
I'm glad they renewed us.
Yeah. So, we're right on the heels of 3,000 members. Our tailgates are going to be bigger than ever. We've got an awesome Florida watch party on the books. So, if you haven't joined, there's not a better time to do it.
Let's talk about that Florida watch party. I mean, for those that can't make it to the Swamp, to be able to come up to the party deck, watch the game on the Jumbotron at Neyland Stadium, it's got to be kind of cool, kind of a unique experience, again, for those that can't make it to Gainesville.
Yeah, under the lights. I think it's just going to be an incredible environment. If you can't be at the Swamp, I don't think there's a better place to be than Neyland Stadium, right? Anytime, right? So it's a really cool experience, and we're happy to work with Tennessee to make this happen for our members.
We got Jerry Mack on the show tonight. Next week we got Jaylen Wright. But, Jaylen's a guy who's been very involved with Second Harvest Food Bank. There's a lot of your players that are out there, doing NIL deals here and there. You've got Big Amari Thomas did something with Better Mattress. You've got several of them that are capitalizing on name, image, and likeness. How much have you seen that market grow?
Yeah, it is, in the past year, really, since we were on the show last, there's been so many more local, regional, national brands come on board. The Big O stuff, Exterior Home Solutions, lots of different examples. And we can't obviously not think about Emerald Youth, East Tennessee Children's Hospital, Second Harvest Food Bank. So we want to do our part to help in the community as well.
All right, let's get to the main attraction for tonight's Season 2, Episode 1, that being Jerry Mack.
How are you? Good to see you, man.
Coach Mack, you're from Memphis, which I know for some Tennesseans that feels like an eternity away because Tennessee's such an odd-shaped state. But when you were growing up, what Tennessee football mean to you?
Man, it meant the world to me personally. When you grow up in Memphis, you're right there on the border of Arkansas, Mississippi, and then I guess you're in Tennessee for the most part. But so it's kind of strange, growing up. You go to a lot of other SEC games, probably more than you actually come to East Tennessee more than anything else. But for me personally, man, I just remember always watching Peyton Manning. I was a Heath Shuler fan. I grew up in the mid-'90s, so to speak. So watching Heath Shuler, watching Peyton Manning. I remember guys like Marcus Nash and Joey Kent, playing the receiver position. So it meant a lot to me just to have an opportunity to come coach here and work here. I can remember when I was in high school at Whitehaven High School, some of the coaches from Tennessee would always kind of come through the school.
Sure.
I remember Chief. It was good to see him come through the other day and speak to the team because I remember when he came through Whitehaven, I think Pat Washington was the receiver coach back then. So he would come through as well. And man, those guys were like celebrities, to be honest with you, in the state of Tennessee. So when they came through the school, everybody knew.
There was an angle on the kick against Alabama last year, and it shows you, and there was just such joy on your face. And it was more so than we won a game or we beat Alabama. It was more pride of what you all had accomplished, pride in the state, pride in Tennessee. Is that fair to say?
I think that's very fair to say. When we got here, nobody really gave us a chance. And, just looking at Tennessee football, just being a big fan more than anything else from afar the last few years, you just knew what the program had been, and then you had seen probably the last decade, just so many ups and downs. And then when we got here, like I said, nobody really gave us an opportunity, a chance to say, hey, look, we could even go win a game like that. You know what I'm saying? And then as the season progressed and, we started to get better and better from week 1 to week 2 to week 3, you just knew that I think we was going to have something special more than anything else. And to go out there in that game, to how it all unraveled and transpired, you just, that joy that you had, I could coach 20 more years and never have that feeling ever again.
You brought up Heath Shuler a minute ago. You've got Navy on the team, so he's coming around. How surreal is that for you? Because again, when you're a middle schooler or a high schooler, and you look up to somebody, and then all of a sudden that person comes around and can be a part of your life, even for just brief moments in time. It's got to be kind of unique.
It is. I see Heath, at practices and at games on the sideline. Obviously, it's kind of crazy because Navy, is his son, so he's always going to have a presence in the building. But not just him, just even any game day, you see the legends of Tennessee football from the past always coming around, and that's pretty cool to see because those guys, you looked up to growing up, you saw play on television every Saturday. Heck, I used to watch the Philip Farmer show coming on television, just laying up in my bed, in Memphis. So, just to see all those those legendary stars always around the building. I mean, to have Peyton Manning, to take a picture, to be so close to Peyton Manning, I mean, it's kind of a surreal experience. Like I said, seeing some of those coaches that coached back in the day in the 90s and early 2000s, even me sitting right here now as the running back coach at the University of Tennessee, it's kind of like a dream come true, to be honest with you.
When you had the chance to come here from Rice, kind of take me through those discussions with Josh Heupel. I mean, obviously, it's a unique experience because you're from the state. When he reached out to you and had interest in bringing you here as the running backs coach, kind of what's going through your mind? What were those discussions like?
Well, the coaching profession is a very small circle. It seems big, but it's truly a small circle when you get into certain atmospheres and you get into certain levels. So one of the first people that reached out to me was Cody Burns. So Cody Burns, the former receiver coach, he said, man, we've interviewed you. We talked to several running back candidates. I got your name. So he was kind of the vetting person just to kind of see like, hey, look, is this guy even worth your time? Is he a good person, bad person? What kind of vibe do you get from him? So I guess I passed that test. Cody called me. It was actually Super Bowl Sunday. He gave me a call and, we talked. He said, man, look, I'm finna watch this game, but Monday morning, I'm gonna give you a call back and, I'm gonna want the OC to talk to you. So I got on the phone Monday morning with Alex Golish and, everything pretty much went well. He said, look, we're gonna have an interview tonight with the staff. This is right around when, we were still on COVID restrictions, so to speak. And
those great times.
Yeah, man. So I got on the Zoom call with Coach Heupel and those guys, and they were teasing me a little bit because at that time I had one of those operator headsets on that you would have during COVID, like when you get on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And, I was talking to those guys, and I said, hey, tell Coach Heupel I said hello too. I see him back there, and they were all shocked because I could see Coach Heupel's reflection in the mirror. They didn't even know. They didn't want anybody to know that he was actually in the room at that time. And so it was kind of fun. They said, "Hey, hire you're observant. you got the job." But we go through the process and we talk a little bit, and it's really more of a get to know you. It just kind of I heard a lot of good things about you. The staff talks well about you. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Talked a little bit of football about your experiences and what you've been involved in and offensively scheme wise. But really, just the person himself. You know what I mean? And obviously I think they did their research on me. Talked to a lot of people within the state and in the southeast regions of where I coached at. So kind of get a little feel about what kind of person is he, what kind of recruiter is he, what kind of ball coach is he, things like that. So it was pretty cool to kind of go through that whole process. But I knew when Josh Heupel had the opportunity to come to Tennessee, I mean everybody's ears just perked up in the state, and it was something that I said, man, if I could ever get an opportunity to get in contact with him, I mean that'll be crazy.
All right, that takes us to present day, but let's take it all the way back. Growing up, when did you kind of first fall in love with the game of football? Is there a moment in time? Was it just in Pee-wees or was it in high school? I mean, when did you know kind of football was going to be such a big part of your life?
Honestly, my dad would not let me play any kind of organized football until I was about 7th or 8th grade. So 8th grade was really when I started to play football. But the reality is I started, organized sports, basketball, baseball. I did a lot of that growing up. And, it's funny, these kids don't see it a lot. But really, I got interested in football playing video games. Back in those days, we had a game called Tecmo Bowl.
There we go, baby.
Yeah.
One like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Bo Jackson and Marcus Allen. The Raiders were filthy in Tecmo Bowl.
Automatic touchdown. Automatic every time they stepped on the field. But playing those games, I got a chance to know some of the players in the National Football League, and that kind of sparked my interest. And from there, it just kind of took off. It was just something I really wanted to do. I just kind of really fell in love with the game, the camaraderie, the atmosphere. Got a chance to play. At that time, it was junior high football, and just the relationships and the coaching. It was everything that my dad was a college football player, so it was everything he talked about. I could all kind of see come to fruition then. And it was pretty cool. And that was kind of my first involvement in organized football more than anything else. So I would say that's when I really fell in love, is the opportunity to play the video games, learn more about the sport, and then, boom, really hop into junior high organized football.
You know, we have the players in from time to time, and they're playing on, was it Twitch, I think it is, you know, playing Madden. I'd love to do that, but they play Tecmo Bowl because I think, one, they would struggle with it because it's so old school. They wouldn't understand how to succeed at it. But I think it would be fascinating to kind of let them see what, you know, we saw when we were kids.
No
you know,
doubt.
I mean, because that game was, I mean, it was fantastic. But before Madden was Madden, Tecmo Bowl was it.
Oh, yeah. And then Super Tecmo Bowl came along.
That's right.
And that just blew everybody's mind. You could develop a roster. You could be all kind of different things.
All right, so you play at Whitehaven, you go and play wide receiver at Arkansas State. When did you know college coaching was going to kind of be part of your path?
Well, initially I didn't. You know, so it was probably my end of my junior year, going into my senior year of college. I was riding around, you know, just talking to one of my coaches, and you know, he said, Jay Mack, you know, you probably need to. I need to think about coaching. And I was like, Coach, I really don't know if I really want to coach. I mean, I don't really understand, you know, to the extent of what you really do on a day-to-day basis besides when we go to practice. And he kind of sat down and kind of explained some of that. And I said, well, you know, I was a management information systems major. So I knew I didn't really want to sit in an IT department, you know, for 25, 30 years. I knew that really wasn't what I wanted to do. So, you know, what I decided to do was, you know, take an aspect of look at some of my former mentors. And the reality was, when I sat down and thought about it, the people that I knew growing up, they were all high school football coaches. They ended up going into administration, and they had another side job on the side. And in my mind, that's what I was going to do. So I said, I think I'm going to try to become a graduate assistant at a school. And then from there, I just kind of figured this deal out. So, you know, I sent out a ton of resumes and tried to talk to a ton of people. And one school hit me back, and it was a school by the name of Delta State, Division II in Mississippi. And the guy called me the head coach called me on the phone, and, you know, he kind of filled me out. He said, you know, Jerry, we don't have any graduate assistant positions open right now, but if you stay in contact with me, you know, we might have something available in the summertime. And sure enough, that January, I continued to talk to him. And I said, you know what, I'm going to try to go up to Mississippi, and I'm going to try to get some FaceTime with him because I graduated early. I graduated in December as opposed to May. So I hopped in my car, had a Nissan Maxima, like a 92 Maxima, and drove up to Delta State in Cleveland, Mississippi, the home of mosquitoes, and went up there and actually got FaceTime with the head coach. And from then on, I knew I had a good opportunity, a good chance to get the job. And sure enough, he called me back a couple of months later. I started in July. But, you know, to go backwards a little bit, the reality was I really didn't know this is what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be involved in sports. I just didn't understand to what magnitude I wanted to be involved in sports. And then when I got to Delta State, started coaching, started seeing really the impact that you could have on young people and how they can look to you as mentors and how they really respected you. And, you know, obviously you had to earn their respect. I knew it was something that I wanted to do for the long term.
So when you talk about making your own path, going in there, getting in a car, driving down there, getting that FaceTime, is truly making your own path. I mean, it's being bold enough. And I think that probably showed well with the coach, that you had enough gumption and wherewithal and want to come down and make that drive with nothing promised, like not even having time with him promised. And you went and got it. You sometimes, especially this generation, I feel like they want it handed to them. Sometimes you just got to go take it.
Yeah, I don't really know any other way to do this deal. You know, I grew up in a two-parent household. Mom, dad worked every day. They worked hard, went to work, came home. Dad had a couple of jobs. And so, like, the work ethic piece is something that it's always kind of come natural to me. So understanding, like, how to go get it, like, you know, you guys use the term, get it from the mud, like, that's really how I've always kind of done it.
Dig it out of the dirt.
Yeah, like, I don't really know any other. I know how to network. I know how to talk to people. I know how to communicate. You know, I'm really big on relationships. I think that stuff goes a long way. For whatever the reason, I learned a long time in life, people hire people that they feel comfortable with.
Yep.
And, you know, if you have a situation where people feel comfortable with you and you're smart and you're intelligent, like, they can teach you to do anything in the world.
My wife all the time is like, why do you go to the dentist in Morristown? That's where I'm from originally. Well, I'm originally from Rogersville, but went to high school in Morristown. Because I like the person I'm dealing with. When you like someone and you feel comfortable with someone, you know, I think that goes a long way with people. So, I mean, like, you're right. I mean, understanding relationships goes a long way in recruiting, you know, being able to build it from the kind of the ground up, because it's not just like snap a finger, and the kid goes, "Oh yeah, I'll come."
Yeah.
You got to kind of build it up.
No. And things have changed so much, with this new technology, social media. Kids, it's tougher. They don't really have to have real conversations.
Yeah, they just want Snapchat, text.
Yeah.
I mean, tweet at you, direct message. I mean, that you're right. I mean, the art of the phone call, or even in my case, the art of a handwritten letter. I mean, I'll have to fill out paperwork, for my kids or something for school or at the doctor, and I'm like writing, and I'm like, I never write. Like, it's like,
Right.
You did that when you were a kid, but like now you just type everything out on your phone. So, I mean, like, you lose things, I think. The generations lose things. So you've been a head coach at a small school in North Carolina. You've been an OC at Rice. Obviously, you're the running backs coach here. How have all of those opportunities prepared you for this job?
God goes back to what we talk about. There's so many relationships because I've worked in so many states in the Southeast region, whether it's going in and out of high schools, whether it's, high school coaches or administrators or even just former players that you coached, and now they're in an administration or coaching role. And I think at the end of the day, God prepares you for gives you certain situations when you're ready for them. And at the end of the day, through my 18, 19, whatever, how many years now is the coaching, I've had an opportunity to come in contact with so many different people. And I think at the end of the day, being blessed with this opportunity to come to the University of Tennessee, it allowed me to get into certain doors throughout the Southeast, really our footprint from a recruiting standpoint. To be honest with you, if I hadn't been here or if I hadn't coached at those places, if I was a guy coming from the West Coast or the Midwest, probably wouldn't be able to get into certain circles and certain doors because everybody is 6 degrees of separation. So, you meet a kid or you're talking to a kid, then, as you're talking to them and develop a relationship, you realize, oh, you got people from Mississippi, you got people from Arkansas. Well, I got people from Mississippi, I got people from Arkansas. And then, oh, yeah, this coach, I coached a kid by the name of XYZ, like 15 years ago. Oh, yeah, that's our offensive coordinator now. So, like, you just kind of, stumble up on those things. The staff teases me all the time, especially Coach Halsey. He said, I bet you Jerry Mack knows his uncle or his cousin or somebody like that, because a lot of people that we come across, especially and if they're in our footprint in the Southeast, like, I've probably kind of touched somebody that they know.
100%. And knowing one or two little bits of someone's life kind of opens a door for you, whether that's knowing, as you said, a former player that you recruited who's now a high school coach at that kid's school, whether that's knowing the local, kind of dive to go get a hamburger. I mean, little things can open doors where, oh, you know about that? And then all of a sudden, boom, it means the world to a parent, a grandparent, or the prospect. I mean, and because you got to kind of win them all over in a lot of ways. Yeah. So, I mean, that goes a long way. As for this current team, how different does this feel? I mean, I feel like we're talking about that a lot with the staff in fall camp from a standpoint of what did it look like 2 years ago? It was so different. But, I mean, you look at your room 2 years ago, Eric Gray had left, Ty Chandler had left, and you were left with, Jabari Small and a couple other running backs. Now it feels like your room's pretty deep.
It's just over time. Like, Coach Hype has done a really good job of allowing us to recruit your room. So, you can bring the personalities, you can build the room the way you see it within the vision of the program. And, not only do we have good players now, we have good people now. And that's what I'm most excited about. It's different going to work now than it was 2 years ago, or heck, even a year ago, just for the standpoint, you got quality guys that they have a workman's mentality and they come to work to try to get better every day. Like you said, like the first year, it was very difficult just for the simple fact, we was just coming off COVID. You really didn't know these guys. You didn't really know that you're still trying to learn the offense, trying to teach those guys.
Sure.
Trying to deal with a lot of different, personalities and things that occurred before you even got here that you had no relevance or no, you didn't know what was going on. So a lot of the tension or the relationships that had been built in the past, a lot of times people put that on the new staff, and that's not, you had to talk to those guys and let them know that, we're not going to be about that. We're not going to do this going forward. And, the cream rises to the top. Some guys stayed around. Some guys decided to move on for whatever the reason. But, you can see after 2 years now the room is starting to look more like what a University of Tennessee running back room needs to really look like.
Jaylen Wright feels like a guy that, probably was a little bit hesitant when you got here maybe, and then soon, thereafter kind of bought in and has just kind of went to work and put his head down and has steadily gotten better.
We always talk about Jaylen's going to really be the poster boy for a guy that is showing true development within a program. When we first got here, Jaylen basically walked in the door with us. a couple of weeks later.
Signed with a different staff, but then ends up with you guys.
Yeah, so like, we were basically all he knew. So he was a little bit apprehensive, and just by nature, Jaylen's a little standoffish, and he needs to trust you before he really opens up and starts to get the most out of him. Just like most kids, to be honest with you, but even more so for Jaylen. And he's changed. I mean, he's did a 180. To be honest with you, like this kid, he came in still an introvert. We had a conversation. It was funny when he first got to University of Tennessee. And he, go around the room, ask those guys, what do you want to do, with your career, what you want to do when you grow up, so to speak. And he said, I want to be a commentator. I said, a commentator? You mean one of those people that talk on television? He said, yeah. I said, man, you might need to think twice about that role. And, just for the simple fact, he's just not.
He doesn't talk.
Yeah, that's just not his deal.
Speaking of, he'll be the guest on next week's Vol Club Confidential. So I'm going to see if I can pull the old rabbit out of the hat and turn water into wine and get him to talk.
But he's gotten so much better. Like, he's gotten so much better just in the building, communicating. He walks around with a smile on his face now. And, we talked about the energy that you give off is the energy you're going to get back. And I think he took that and he just ran with it. And now what you see is a guy, he's still going to be a passionate player. He's still a very intense player. But the reality is it kind of carries over to his game. He runs with a chip on his shoulder. He runs somewhat violent. He runs aggressive. And that's what has benefited him. He always had the athletic ability. That never was the issue. But the way his running style with the maturity and the growth on and off the field is really what's helped him develop.
Then you got Jabari, who, if he can stay healthy, is a kind of a jack of all trades. You can use him and just a little bit of everything in the offense, which is a nice thing to have.
No question. Jabari does, he's a pro. He doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes, if any, to be honest with you. You sit back and watch the film. We have a deal where we put some of the best performers of the day on the board every day during training camp, and I could put Jabari's name up there every single day. But the challenge to him is, do something out of your comfort zone. Do something that's explosive. Do something that's a little bit different, so you can do something to get your name up there. And for the last few days, he's really been doing that. And he will try to do anything that you tell him to do or ask him to do. He's a coach pleaser. He wants to be good. He works at it. And I'm excited about him this year to see exactly what he does this year with his opportunities, because he's been consistent to be for the last 2 years.
Who's influenced your coaching career the most?
I think everything starts at home for me. My mom and my dad, what they instilled in me, watching them, you lead by example. And they were the best examples of the best role models that I could ever have growing up. Two people that really poured into me and my sister every single day, went to work, gave us everything that we wanted within reason. And I think that's where our generation sometimes struggles a little bit. You want to give your kids what you didn't have, but at the same time, you want them to still have a work ethic and be able to work for things. But there's no doubt my mom and dad, especially my dad, as far as what he poured into me from an athletic standpoint, being a former college athlete, just understanding what it's going to take to get to this level, not only just from a standpoint of playing, but also coaching, driving me around to different camps when I was younger in high school. So, that guy means the world to me. And from a coaching standpoint, just guys that have influenced me a ton. To be honest with you, Mike Bloomgren, my former head coach at Rice University, he was a guy I was his GA. That was the guy GA for at Delta State years and years ago. And for him to pour into me, just not only from off the field, but also too, in the classroom, and it just taking me through some things, giving me an opportunity to come to Rice, teaching me the West Coast offense and things like that. That guy's been really influential in everything I've done in my career.
How much do you try to keep up with the guys you've coached at different spots? Especially some of them, their careers end in college, but some of them they don't. And so how much do you try to, keep up with that?
I do. I try to be intentional about everything I do. I think as a coach, obviously you're going to recruit, you're going to write letters, and you're going to text kids. But I also like to try to make sure I don't forget where I came from. And those guys that have helped me along the way, like you said, they may not even be coaching anymore. So, from a standpoint of them helping me within my career, they can't do anything for me from that standpoint. They may be got out the profession altogether. But I always like to give back. I would like to let those guys know I'm thinking about them. If I can never send those guys a shirt or a mug or anything like that, because some of them are University of Tennessee fans, I always want to be able to do that, because I think, you pull one, you pull somebody up as you climb the ladder.
When you're out recruiting and you have Memphis as one of your areas, how much do you kind of like to get back in there and maybe see a coach or two that maybe you saw in high school, or a coach that you you've known for years and years and years. You roll into your alma mater, see Rodney Salisbury. He's always got that same tracksuit on. I feel like, and I just love listening to him talk, man. I mean, he's the unofficial mayor of Memphis.
Yeah, it's funny. Salisbury and me and him, like my last year was Salisbury's first year of high school coaching. So like I've known Salisbury pretty much over half of my life now. And he's always been the same guy. And like you said, like a lot of those guys that either played with me or, they were underclassmen, or guys that even coached in Memphis when I was there, they're at different high schools now. So there's not going to be too many high schools, if any, where I can't go into in the city of Memphis and know somebody. And it may just be a regular teacher, but I'm going to know somebody at every school, just for the simple fact. Whitehaven is kind of one of those schools in the state or in the city that, we have a lot of alumni, and a lot of alumni teach at the high school. That's why, through the years, they've been able to remain consistent and still be a really good program.
When you get back to Memphis, I know you've been able to take some time, go see your parents, that type of thing. How much do you enjoy that, be able to get back down and see some family?
Well, my folks would tell you not as much as I need to, because sometimes, doing this recruiting process, you're kind of in and out. So
you don't get a whole lot of time in your profession.
Yeah, I might slide in and I might give them a call and never actually see them. But there has been a couple occasions I've been able to slide by the house and actually go spend some time with them and, break bread and things like that. And I think that means the world to them, to be honest with you, because, not only them, my sister, she's still there as well. So just for, everybody to still be, for that small moment in time, it feels like you're 14, 15 years old when we all lived in the same house together.
All right, we're going to do some rapid fire here. You ready?
Oh, God. Okay, what you got?
Favorite sports movie of all time?
Favorite sport? Oh, The Program.
Favorite non-football sports movie?
Ooh, Field of Dreams.
What is your favorite part of living in Knoxville, non-football related?
I love going to the lake. I live out there in Farragut. I love going to the lake.
Favorite lake activity, just skiing or something else?
No, just like literally feeding the ducks, hanging out, relaxing, and watching the water.
One stadium in college that you've not coached in that you'd love to coach a game in?
Michigan, University of Michigan.
How come?
Just growing up, my last name Mack, block M, like kind of always, thought watching on television, thought that was cool in University of Michigan.
Do you like the song "Return of the Mack"?
I love it.
Is that your ringtone?
That is my walk-up song if I was a baseball player.
Favorite NFL football player growing up?
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Mack, Jerry Rice. Favorite NFL football team growing up?
Probably the 49ers. For obvious reasons.
You're a Roger Craig guy?
I did like Roger Craig.
A lot of those players on those 49ers teams are pushing him for the Hall of Fame. Does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame?
I don't know where he ranks statistically among all those guys, but when you talk about a guy that one of the first guys could catch the ball out the backfield like a really true three-down back, I think he probably was one of the first ones that I can remember. I know I'm probably missing somebody, but like I remember him doing a lot out the backfield.
If Jerry Mack is planning the family vacation and nobody else in the Mack family gets a say, what is the family doing?
Oh, that's a good one. If I get a chance to plan it going nowhere, we're going to California, and we're going to go to Hollywood, and we're going to, the stars, Hollywood stars, and we're going to go see celebrity houses, and we're going to go do things like that. So,
big into that, huh?
You
a TV buff, movie buff?
I like television. Like I like this streaming, the new deal where you can stream everything. Mm-hmm. If they would have had that when I was in college, I don't know if I ever would have went to class.
What do you like to watch?
Everything, like Netflix. I'm big into gangster movies, rom-coms, romantic comedies. I like everything.
So when Heupel was in last year, we learned here on VolQuest Confidential, he's big into the JFK assassination. Mm-hmm. In fact, afterwards I texted him and I said, "Hey, found that so interesting. Who do you think did it?" And he texted me back. I mean, he wrote me like right away, like boom. He had his theory. Boom. Are you big into like real life stuff? So like I could watch JFK documentaries, I could watch OJ documentaries on loop and be content.
Yeah, I love documentaries. I love learning. I think in a former life I probably was a history buff because I like to learn about people's journeys. I like to learn how people got to where they got and then what happened in between. So I like to hear about the stories.
You think that's because you've kind of dug it out of the dirt yourself, so to speak?
I definitely think so. Like I've always been like that. I like to know the background and like where people came from and like what happened. My wife hates that. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you Googling that person? I just want to know, like.
See, I sit around and watch TV shows or movies, and I'm like, okay, how old is this person? Boom.
Yeah.
Boom. Like, I get Wikipedia. Like, that that movie. My wife's like, let's watch this movie, 80 for Brady. And I'm like, okay. So it's got like Jane Fonda in it and Lily Tomlin. I'm like, let's see how old these people are. Like Jane Fonda's in there. She's like 87 or whatever. I mean, like, you know what I mean? I'm always fascinated to see like the ages of people, you know? So, I mean, I totally get that. If anybody could play Jerry Mack in a movie, who would it be?
You know what? I would say Chadwick Boseman, but he's passed away. Man, I really don't know. That's a good one. A young Denzel. A young Denzel. Or I would say a Will Smith. Like Will Smith would probably be better.
I'll go with Jazz from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's more your speed. Were you a Fresh Prince guy growing up?
I did. I watched the new season of Bel-Air too. They got a new episode too.
Saved by the Bell growing up?
Yes. Zach, man. Zach was my guy.
Yeah, Kelly was my girl. I mean, that's seriously, you know, biggest crush of all time on really? Kelly Kapowski. Yeah, Tiffany Amber Thiessen. She was phenomenal. If Jerry Mack now could tell younger Jerry Mack one thing that you've learned to maybe speed up the process of things, what would it be? Or do you just keep everything the same?
A younger Jerry Mack would have told the older Jerry Mack would have told the younger Jerry Mack, you do not have to move around as much as you've moved around in your career. You know, sometimes it's best to just stay still and enjoy, you know, where you're at and the people that you're with. Enjoy the people and value those relationships that you build at those universities, those people in the job that you work at.
Is that kind of where you're at right now with things? I feel like BJ's kind of that way. I mean, he's bounced around a lot, but I feel like he may leave after the season. I don't know. But, like, he feels like he's very happy here.
Yeah, I really think so. Like, you know, when you find, like somebody told me a long time ago, don't mess up happy. And, you know, right now, you know, we got a good thing going.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
No doubt. Like good people in the building, great people in the building from everybody that you deal with and interact with, coaching staff, recruiting department, scouting department. Like it feels really good to go to work to every day. And also, too, the players that you deal with, you're recruiting the right people in the building, talent-wise and people-wise.
Best advice you've been given?
Enjoy the process. Just enjoy the process. You know, Inky talked to us the other day. He said something about that as well. But really, to be honest with you, enjoying the process, be where your feet are, all those things kind of go, hand in hand, to be honest with you. I think when you're younger, you're chasing a lot of things. You're chasing, the prestige. You're chasing money. You're chasing a lot. As you get older, you just value the time more. You understand, I'm getting older. You see a lot of people, whether they're celebrities or whether they're people that going and passing on and moving on, and they're not necessarily sick. It could be anything. And I think right now, you're just at a point in your life where you want to enjoy the journey, enjoy the people every day, get a chance to go in that building and see those guys and work with those guys. It just means a lot. And, you don't take any of that stuff for granted because everybody can't do that. And some people will never get an opportunity to even experience a piece of that.
Well, Jerry Mack, we appreciate the time. A great look at kind of your journey throughout the process. And we know you guys are hopeful for having another big year in this 2023 campaign.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
If you're a Vol Club member, make sure you watch out for the newsletter. That's a wrap on Episode 1 of Season 2. We'll have an exciting season ahead, including next week. This guy's protege, Jaylen Wright, who hopes for a big season as well. If Tennessee's going to do well on the field, number 0, that's new, will need to have a big, big year. We'll see you next week, everybody.